Exciting.
What an amazing week we have had, man. I tell you, life has been a little crazy, travel and whatnot, but things are finally starting to get back to normal here in Texas. Wouldn't you agree, babe?
Oh yes, we don't need to have any more masks.
Yeah, yeah, that's the word on the street, right? Texas, it made national news, this whole mask thing. And I don't know where
Mm-hmm.
you're at on the mask thing, and I'm not here to judge. Please don't misunderstand me. But we here in Texas, we're a little bit more crazier. Some would say crazy, some would say free, but call it what
Right.
you want.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just glad to hear that the world's kind of getting a little bit back to normal.
Oh, have to we go back to normal soon? It's too long.
Yeah. Anyway, this show is certainly not about mask
Yes.
or a pandemic. This show is about drinking for dummies. This show is simply an educational podcast slash YouTube channel to educate our listeners on how beverages are made, how to enjoy them responsibly, and more importantly, I
Right.
think some proper food pairings, stuff like that. And we have an amazing guest that is going to be joining us
I
this
am
week.
so excited. I am so excited to hear that history about that alcohol. Yeah.
Yeah, so we're going to be featuring an amazing beverage. Now, I'll be honest with you. When I first had my first introduction into gin, it was in college. And I'll talk about this briefly with Matthias
Really? That was a
when we get
long
him.
time ago. You can't even remember the taste.
Hey, don't be talking about how long
Like a
ago
dinosaur.
it was when I was in college. In fact, our guest probably wasn't even born yet
Oh yeah,
when I had
different.
my first introduction to gin. But it was not as pleasant as what we're going to be talking about today. We're talking about Hendrick's gin. And I have some images on the screen here that give you a little history of that company. But I'm going to tell you, man, more importantly than that, I have a good friend of mine who's going to be joining us, who is an ambassador. And forgive me, Matthias, if I say this wrong, but you're the ambassador for the entire West Coast of the United States. Is that correct?
I am, yes. Yeah, I'm the ambassador to the Western US, which is lovely. So
Oh
I
wow.
started my journey out with Hendrick's Gin as the ambassador to the Central US, covering about the central 20 states. And then now I cover pretty much everything from Nashville to Hawaii. So it's a fun bit of territory.
Okay,
That's exciting.
so I'm detecting a little bit of an accent, and I'm assuming that you're not a native-born American like myself.
I am from Tennessee, can't you tell? No. No, I'm not. I'm actually a dual citizen. I'm a transatlantic cocktail shaker, if you will. I am a product of both England and America. So
Oh,
my
that's
mother's from New York,
cool.
but my father is from England. And I have best of both worlds, I'd say.
Hey, I'm going to tell you, if you want to hear his full-blown story, go to robindaleshow.com. You can actually
Mm-hmm.
listen to the podcast we recorded. What an amazing story he has to tell you.
Oh,
But
it's so nice.
yes, so go check it out, guys. Certainly go do that as well. So he and I met through his girlfriend. Her name is Casey Savage, up-and-coming amazing artist. Go check out her stuff on YouTube as well.
She's
Maybe we'll put
pretty
she's
too.
gorgeous. We'll put a
Mm-hmm.
link down below so you can check out her music as well. But today is about drinking for dummies. Today is about Hendrick's Gin and about how to learn how to make those things. But I certainly don't know enough about the beverage. I'm going to let my good friend Matthias here do that.
Yes, I'd
So,
like to know.
so whenever you're ready, sir, let's educate our listeners about Hendrick's Gin.
I love it. Well, guys, thanks for having me on today. It's really cool. I love what you guys have started here, Drinking for Dummies. I think it's amazing. And I'm happy to be able to kind of guide people into the world of gin, provide you with a little bit of a brief gin introduction, if you will. One of the most common phrases that I ever heard working behind the bar, because that's the world I come from as a brand ambassador, you'll find that a lot of people with that title often come from working as a bartender or frontline hospitality. And so, I used to run the beverage program for a company called Food and Wine Magazine when we opened up a restaurant in Aspen, New York, and it was a really wonderful experience. Getting to create beverages that would just entice people into this beautiful world of flavor that we are so privileged to be able to share with people. And one of the most common phrases I always used to hear, and I'm sure you guys have heard it or even said it yourself as well, is, I don't like gin, but I love Hendrix. And that to me is something that has truly stuck with me throughout my entire career. And even now as a Hendrix ambassador, I find myself bringing people into the fold of gin through the world of Hendrix. It's a wonderful spirit, and I can't wait to show you a little bit about kind of the ins and outs of what makes Hendrix so unique. But what exactly does a brand ambassador do? I know the term out there is kind of diversified, and in Texas especially, I know a lot of the term brand ambassadors, you'll meet them in liquor stores and they'll be sampling. But William Grant and Sons, the company that owns Hendrix, it's actually a family-owned company from Scotland. So you may be familiar with some of our other products like Glenfiddich, the Balvenie, Milagro Tequila, Reyka Vodka, Tullamore Dew Irish Whiskey, all of these incredible spirits. So we come with this beautiful backbone of such an amazing, rich distilling culture that has given birth to the beauty and the magic inside every bottle of Hendrick's gin. And it's my job as the ambassador to the Western US to sort of act in an advocacy capacity. It's my job to educate, to be the face of the brand, to really tell the voice of the liquid itself. I truly believe that the liquid inside every bottle of alcohol has an unscripted story, and it's my job to tell it. So I'm very excited to sort of delve into the world of gin a little bit. So why don't I go ahead and I'm just going to share my screen here, and I'm going to kind of just take you through a little bit of the details about what makes Hendrick's so unique. Again, that little bit of a gin introduction, and I heard that distant bottle pop that is so reminiscent of the beautiful world of Hendrick's in the background there, so I love that I heard that. So we're going to start again with just our brief introduction. Myself, alongside the other ambassadors here in the US, are truly a cast of unusualists. We are a bunch of fun people, and we love to go on adventures. The last year has sort of seen us stay at home a little bit more, but you know, the adventures are still there, digitally speaking, and we're very excited to get back on the road when time allows. But you know, for now, it's just about supporting accounts in everything that they need, and I please implore you, if you're able to do so as well, support your local bars. And that means also respecting, if they do require you still to wear masks, please do so as well, because it's about respecting their wishes. So please follow us on Instagram as well while we're on here. You can see mine is just down here on the bottom left. That's Matty is Still an Horseman at The Bar Poet on Instagram. I am also on YouTube as well, so you can click on my channel, which I'm sure Rob will kind of link below here as well, along with my other two ambassadors, VT Wise Guy, our national ambassador, and Eric Anderson, young Mr. Flanagan, over on Instagram as well for our East Coast. So what is Hendrick's Gin? Well, we like to consider ourselves a wonderful sum of our peculiar parts. Now, let's see exactly what goes into that. First, we're going to start with the history. Okay, Hendrick's, as you alluded to, guys, is from Scotland. Right now, that might not be the first place you think of when you think of the beautiful world of gin, right? You think of these exotic botanicals from all of the peculiar four corners of the planet. But the truth is, as I mentioned before, we're part of William Grant & Sons, a family-owned distilling company. Is distilling? A made-up word. I like that. Distilling company. First launched in 1886, they started building the distillery, and then the first drops of liquid flowed off the stills in Dufton, where you're familiar with a lot of whiskey production, on Christmas Day in 1887. Now, this rich distilling culture and history has sort of translated itself as we've moved through the years into being able to produce such beautiful liquids such as Hendrick's Gin. So now the woman who is the brainchild, the mastermind, not only behind Hendrick's Gin and its innovations that have come to light over the last few years, but also she's credited with actually pioneering the modern gin movement to what it is today. This is Leslie Gracie, our master distiller, truly one of the fundamental pillars of the reason why gin is so popular in the world as we know it today. And one of the most incredible people you'll ever meet. As you can see, she actually has a floor-length ponytail there on the right-hand picture, and just one of the most innovative, interesting, and of course, eccentric people that I've ever had the pleasure of meeting. If you think about the gin category back in 1999 when Hendrick's launched, it was very small, if you will. Everything was surrounding those beautiful London dry style gins, right? Now let's see, what do I mean by a London dry style gin? It doesn't actually have to be made in London at all, but rather it refers to the style of gin, which is unsweetened and dry in taste, much like my sense of humor. So with that being said, we are talking about a world of gin that all surrounded the beautiful evergreen piney flavors of the juniper berry. And it was pretty much just juniper forward gins, right? Every time you taste London dry gins, yes, they do differ quite a lot in their unique expression, but it's always that evergreen pine flavor forward first. Leslie decided that she wanted to break the glass ceiling. She didn't just want to think outside the box. She thought that there was no box. And so she decided that she wanted to create something very unique. She likes to think of flavors in terms of shapes. So let's see what she put into Hendrick's to make it so unique. With our Hendrick's Gin, what Leslie Gracie did was to be able to use a symphony of 11 botanicals, still with our additional 2 soloists, which I'll get to in a minute, but it's that symphony of 11 botanicals that form the base of our beautiful gin. Now, I know some people out there might not be so familiar with what gin actually is, so let's discuss that too. At the beginning, gin starts out as a neutral grain spirit. right? Neutral grain spirit being almost sort of like you're familiar with vodka, right? It's a very neutral taste. It shouldn't
Right.
have anything affecting it. So we distill that neutral grain spirit up to a really high proof. So there's no other flavors in there whatsoever. It's a blank canvas, if you will. I apologize in advance if a fire engine goes past in a minute. The joys of living in California. But so with that neutral grain spirit, what I love about that is that all gins start out the same. I say that there's a couple other potential exceptions out there, but for the majority part, all gins start out as a neutral grain spirit, or that blank canvas. Each master distiller then comes in and paints a beautiful picture on that blank canvas using botanicals as a color palette. Now, botanicals can be everything from fruits, flowers, seeds, and roots. Truly a whole diverse world of things. And that's when I love looking at the history of gin and seeing that originally when you were putting things like nutmeg, which had come from all the way over the other side of the world, and at the time would have had to come on ships and stop in about 60 ports all the way through the world. Nutmeg was actually worth more than gold at one point in history.
Wow.
If you had put that in your gin and you were drinking that, I mean, you were living it large, right? That was your the drink of the bourgeoisie. It was to show your status of being able to drink gin in the gin palaces of London. Absolutely stunning to see the history of botanicals. But I could talk about that for hours. So what I'll do is just talk through some of the botanicals here that you can find in Hendrick's and also in several other gins and what those flavors yield to the gin overall. So as I mentioned before, Leslie likes to think of flavors in terms of shapes. So she wanted to bring people on a bit of a journey with gin. Now, I know you guys tried this last night and you said you enjoyed it, right?
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Compared to what I experienced in college, this was like a very warm change because I had some really old versions of gin. Granted, I was in college. Thanks for the word
The
there, Chica.
dinosaur.
It's been over 20 plus years. So
No.
obviously it has evolved.
That's great. And it's so true because, again, thanks to people like Leslie innovating continuously, what they've been able to do is really push the boundaries of the taste profiles. So with our journey that we're going to go on, we'll start, let's just say, with our citrus elements, right? So Leslie loves to put things like orange peel and lemon peel in there to give that citrus note. But if we were to draw one of those typical, while we're talking about college, you know, the old axis diagram that you're so familiar with, right? You have a y-axis and an x-axis.
Yes.
On that, you're going to draw your 5 different senses, right? And we want to draw those on each different side so that we can start to see how this flavor diagram is going to come up and become this beautiful rounded sensation. So we have our citrus on one side that Leslie's included. Next, we're going to go through to our beautiful floral elements. So in Hendrick's, we actually use elderflower, yarrow flower, and of course some elderflower as well. Now it's those things that give this beautiful floral note to different gins, okay? And what I love about this is you start to see, when you look inside the products, then you can start to see what is important to mix those products with. I find so often a lime is always the garnish for a gin and tonic anywhere I go. And I always have an issue with that. Even as a bartender, I was like, you should be paying attention to what the ingredients are in specific gins. And then you should pair the garnish, which is the signature, the finishing touch of the cocktail, with the ingredients of the gin itself. And then if you can do that, you can really heighten the experience of every single cocktail. And you can do this at home too, which is super important. So of course, we've got our citrus, we've got our floral, we have our spice elements, right? Things like caraway seed that you're always familiar with rye bread.
Yes.
We have things like coriander as well, and cubeb berries, which are like Javan peppercorns. So all of these things yield a bit of a spicy kind of note to the gin as well. And finally, we're going to settle down on our base notes of angelica and orris root. And all of that is going to be sitting atop the beautiful juniper berry that is, of course, the signature of all gins. It has to be, by a legal definition, the most predominant flavor in gin. That being said, today's gins are, some of them, pushing the boundaries of what is technically considered juniper forward, but still, it is always going to be the most predominant flavor in most gins, which is just truly wonderful to see how gin is structured. So I hope that along with sort of, you know, the ideas of putting chamomile and all these other things to put in there to really kind of highlight different notes, shows how you can create such a unique experience with different gin. But that's not everything. What we're going to be talking about next is the idea of how to extract flavor from these botanicals in order to yield a very unique result.
Wow.
Most gins will traditionally use one type of still. At Hendrick's, we're very peculiarly inefficient, but we love the use of something that will give us a very unique experience. We use a tale of two types of still to make Hendrick's gin. And it's the marriage of those two different types of distillate alongside our additions of cucumber and rose, which again, I'll get to in a second, that really create the magic inside every bottle of Hendrick's. So on the left-hand side of this image here that you're looking at, you can see what we call a vapor infusion still. This is our Carterhead still, built in 1948. Wow. What we do is we place a beautiful botanicals that we have, that symphony of 11 botanicals. We place that in a flavor basket, just up there on the top left-hand side. We then put our neutral grain spirit down in the bottom of the still, just by the little gentleman. That's Alan, by the way. He was our lone stillman for the first nearly 20 years that Hendrick's was around. And we place our neutral grain spirit in there. We then boil that neutral grain spirit up. And as that alcohol vapor passes over that botanicals in a very high temperature and high pressure, it extracts what we call the essential oils from those botanicals. And the distillate that's yielded off that side of the stills, that's a very light, floral, and delicate distillate. Now, on the other side, we have our Bennett still, which was built in 1860. Now, this still is what we call a maceration infusion, right? The maceration infusion is almost like what we know as the term soaking. So we actually place the botanicals in the neutral grain spirit so that they're directly in contact, and we leave them overnight. So it's the last thing we do at the distillery in the day, and it's the first thing we do in the morning. We start to slowly heat up that steam jacket on the still. And as that slowly heats up, just so we make sure the juniper doesn't pop and become very bitter, we then obviously get that liquid boiling up, and what condenses on the other side is this beautiful, spicy, robust, and gorgeous distillate from that side, right? So on one hand, we have our deep, robust, spicy. On the other, we've got our light, delicate, and floral. We then combine those two together, and we add our pièce de résistance at Hendrick's of cucumber and rose. So again, we have our symphony of 11 botanicals with our soloists of cucumber and rose. Now, the cucumber rose essence has actually been vacuum distilled separately, because I don't know if you guys have ever tried cooking with cucumbers before, but they turn black and smell like cabbage. It's not quite the best flavor, right? It's not quite the best flavor in gin. Right. But what it does is if we vacuum distill them, it allows us to boil it at a much lower temperature, thus retaining the fresh and delicate flavors that are sought in only the most delectable of gins. And of course, at Hendrick's, we want to always try and maintain those beautiful, fresh flavors. So it is those things together that create the magic inside every bottle of Hendrick's gin. And that's pretty much it. But I do want to show you where we actually make Hendrick's. It is our beautiful gin palace in Girvan, Scotland. Truly, one of the most beautiful. Isn't it stunning? Yeah. They did such a great job with the build out of this, and we just launched this brand new gin palace in 2018. It's about 350 feet away from the old place where we used to make Hendrick's, which was actually in an old brick building that was used as an ammunitions depot for World War II. And that was sort of where we used it before. But we wanted to be able to think long-term. We were proud of where we had come from, proud of where we were going. And we wanted to be able to give Leslie the chance to create, the chance to innovate, and the chance to translate the thoughts that she's had in her mind into liquid form for so long. So it's there that we came up with Hendrick's Orbium, which you guys may have seen in stores. It's the one that looks like this. Truly a really unique expression of Hendrick's. It's almost like what Hendrick's might taste like in a parallel universe. Truly, truly phenomenal. And it's this gin that I absolutely love. And it was what we launched for the trade, for the bartenders, as a thank you for making Hendrick's what it was. Because Hendrick's was truly born in the bars. And it was bartenders that fell in love with it and then gave it to consumers who then in turn fell in love with it again. And in Hendrick's Orbium, we actually have the same base as Hendrick's gin, still with the additions of rose and cucumber, but we have 3 additional elements. We have quinine, wormwood, and lotus blossom in Orbium. So truly a beautiful expression that just, again, tastes similar to Hendrick's, but it's almost like what it might taste like in a parallel universe. So we take that round experience that Leslie Gracie had sought so hard to create in Hendrick's, and we turned it into that three-dimensional orb shape that she likes to think of it as. And of course, now you guys will be seeing this year coming out Hendrick's Luna. Hendrick's Luna is part of what we call the Cabinet of Curiosities, and that is why we built this whole brand new distillery. Really, was to be able to give Leslie that opportunity to translate the thoughts that she had for so long into liquid form. So you guys may have seen Hendrick's Midsummer Solstice over the last couple of years, a truly delicious experience in a gin. It's just phenomenal.
Wow.
But what we're doing is as one goes in, the other one's going to come out. So we've actually stopped making Hendrick's Midsummer Solstice, and now we've made Hendrick's Luna for this year. Truly a very unique experience. But everything that we do at Hendrick's is going to come from this beautiful concept-led story base that has to do with Leslie's life. We're not really so interested in creating like a raspberry gin or a lavender gin. We don't really like the idea of just doing one pointed flavor. We want to do something that really creates an experience for people. So with Midsummer Solstice, it was embodied the flowers that bloom during the day that we all love so much during the summertime. And then with Hendrick's Luna, Leslie's actually progressed, in my opinion, so perfectly from that to not only encompass a beautiful floral element, but it's actually night blooming flowers. So things that bloom during the night, that combined with a beautiful element of spice and citrus just truly creates almost in essence, the essence of the night. And that is why I love drinking Luna. And Texas should be getting it any day now. So I'm sorry I couldn't get you guys a bottle of that for today.
Man, I can't wait, bro. I'm listening to you talk and you're like painting an image, like you're painting a painting. It's like, I knew you were going to describe it well, but having listened to this, it's like, man, there's artistry in the words. So just please keep going. I'm listening. Yes.
No, that's pretty much, I want to get back to the conversation so we can start enjoying a cocktail because again, what I'm saying is like with the Luna, it's just such a beautiful combination of flavors that it's sort of the way that I always like to experience it is almost as if I'm going outside, sitting by a fireplace in the evening. I've poured myself a glass and above me hangs this gorgeous bouquet of night blooming florals. And then as I sit down, the warmth from the fire casts off this beautiful warmth and a little bit of delicate spice and citrus just hangs in the air. And I can just feel this experience. And when I taste Hendrick's Luna, it's a very subtle, sensual, and beautiful gin that truly, you know, it's not necessarily the vast difference that we had between Hendrick's and Midsummer Solstice, right? Because the daytime is supposed to be bright and vibrant and crazy. Right. This is a nighttime gin. It's subtly different, but it's cool, subtle, and calming, much like a good martini should be. So I'm very excited to be able to bring up a world of cocktails with this. And if you guys want to learn some more cocktails about this, you guys can obviously follow me on that Instagram that I mentioned at the beginning, which is The Bar Poet on Instagram, or you can even follow me on YouTube, and I'll make sure Rob gets that link so you can post it down below.
Sounds great.
And also go to hendricksgin.com, of course, because we have a whole plethora of recipes there from our treasury of tipples that we will be enjoying throughout the whole year. But I think we should probably get to making a cocktail, I think, because it's definitely, I'm pretty thirsty.
I could not agree more. And I'm going to tell you, there's a little trick about having a Japanese wife. She was like ahead of the game here. She's already like kind of made some already, which we have already finished, I might add, responsibly.
No, I just wanted to tell this is great. I mean, I don't, you know, I love to drink in water with the cucumber. You know, sometimes in going to somewhere they have it, hotel, and I like the flavor. But this gin, I drink a lot of different spirits, and because I born in Japan, people love to drink, not just drink and drunk. And Japanese people, we love taste and we enjoy in the moment. But this gin is I never feel like really flavor, be fresh. And if you make the cocktail with a cucumber and with the cucumber in it, it just fresh yourself. Like I want it to be outside.
It's so beautiful.
Yes, it is just that flavor is unbelievable. It's just great.
So let me give you my take. So when I was a younger man, a long time ago, I was in college and we used to do these things called gin slammers, and we used to use this nasty. Please don't sue me. a particular type of gin that starts with an S. And then we would mix it with Sprite to kill the flavor because it was not very pleasant. And the whole idea back then was, let's just get a buzz and let's go out and have some fun. But I'm going to tell you, when I first tried the Hendrix, I was just blown away because it was like, this is going to sound funny to you. It's like a party in your mouth. Like there's so much going on.
So
there's so many different flavors.
Good.
And like, as you were describing all the pieces, I remember like reflecting. I would take a sip and I could, oh yeah, I taste the orange. Oh yeah, I taste the lemon. And it's so unique. If you've never tried it, trust me when I tell you, folks, do yourself a favor. We're heading into springtime. No better time now than to get yourself a nice little cocktail, but she's going to tell us how to go do it. So, Matthias, tell us, if they're a listener right now, maybe they have a bottle, they're playing along, what is the recipe for success?
There is an endless supply of recipes. And the good thing about gin is we've already done the hard work in combining the beautiful flavors for you. So really, you don't have to do too much to make it really delicious. So let's make a little simple one, right? Like a gin and tonic.
Right.
But
Yes.
we've all had gin and tonics. And I feel like, sometimes can be, I hate to say this because I work for a gin company, but can be a little bit boring, right? So I always like to try and find ways that I can just liven up something at home. So what I'm going to do is I have my glass full of ice right here. It has a little bit left because I was sipping on some stuff just to get my mouth watering before we started. So I have that. I'm going to pour just a little bit of tonic in there to start with. I always do that just because it helps with the mixing, I feel. It doesn't keep the gin just at the bottom of the drink. And then I'm going to go ahead, and you guys obviously are using Hendrick's at home today, right? So I'm going to make one with a little bit of Hendrick's as well today. But I also do recommend this cocktail really with the Hendrick's. It truly is stunning. But I want to be able to share in this experience with you guys. So
Sounds great.
what we're going to be doing is just adding 2 parts of our beautiful Hendrick's gin, again with that symphony of 11 botanicals and soloists of rose and cucumber, into our glass over that ice. So again, I measure everything in parts because that way I can use anything as a measuring device. It's all about the ratio that is important. But if you use these beautiful little bottles of tonic that you can get at the store, it's actually perfect ratios. So if you have 2 parts of this side of the jigger, it can actually just be 1 whole bottle of this and you're good to go. So I really love that element of it. So I'm going to go ahead and just add that to my glass. I'm going to go ahead and top it off with this. And then I'm going to garnish that with a little bit of freshly cut cucumber. Again, like I said before, we've got our English cucumber as a garnish. Now, here's where a little bit of a tip comes in. This is black pepper. You might think I'm crazy for putting this over the top of my gin. Yeah, black pepper. But I'm going to just do 1 little crack of this over the top. So you see, I'm just going to do this, like, whoop, that's it. Very small little bit there. This is huge in Europe. Black pepper and gin really create such a unique perspective, but it's really Hendrick's because the cucumber. And if you remember me mentioning the cubeb berries are basically Javan peppercorns. And it just, all of the flavors start to come to life in a new way that you might not be used to by using something like this. So this, again, is just a very beautiful way to create a Hendrick's and but with the Hendrick's Lunar as well, those beautiful additions that Leslie has created of the warming and spice notes to capture that essence of the night, the little black pepper just helps to really kind of captivate that again and set it off on another level. So truly a unique expression that I'll raise a glass to you guys and say thanks for having me.
Cheers.
Are we saying in Japan? Kanpai.
Kanpai.
I gotta tell you, with the pepper added in there, I would have never thought to do that. By the way,
this is people never try the gin, and I love gin, but they didn't tell me how to use the gin and making the flavor. I never had that. This is the first time, and I kind of reminds because I like the gin's taste, but this one just only not mix anything. So much flavor, and it just in your mouth, and you drink it in your mouth. It's like so much flavor. It just cucumber is like refresh everything. I don't need to have a lot, just 1 or 2 glasses, but I can fresh up. I want it to be outside, a beach, or anywhere. It's just amazing taste.
For me, it's I'm quite the opposite. I used to hate gin, and I would force it down to go have fun with my friends. But but just like anything in life, there's quality and there's non-quality. I could drink this stuff straight, but obviously mixing it with the cucumber garnish and the pepper and the tonic, it is like next level refreshing. Because I think so many people, like some people they drink to get drunk, some people they drink to just enjoy. That's why like you have a fine wine with a steak or a fine wine with a meal. This particular beverage, it screams to me relaxation.
Yes,
It's an adult beverage, meaning like when I was a child, I didn't have the same palate that I do today. I wouldn't probably have enjoyed it as much as I do because of the complexity of it. But I'm gonna tell you, man, like when I say party in your mouth, when you literally close your eyes, you can feel the flavors just bursting in your mouth. And you feel the orange, you can feel the lemon, you can feel the juniper berries, and it's just really, really phenomenal. And the way it finishes is so smooth.
I know you need to have a guess and then making a little cocktail because a lot of people never try gin, never know about gin, but once they try it, they will love it because it's just a little like a tea, like a 3 o'clock p.m. tea kind of thing.
Anybody who says they don't like gin, I always tell them, you don't like gin yet.
Yes.
That to me is the key because you just have to find a good way of mixing with it. The truth is, again, gin starts out as a neutral grain spirit. I would argue, and it might be a bit of a controversial point, but I would argue that largely you could replace a huge amount of vodka drinks with gin and obtain a better result. A prime example of that would be something that a really dear friend of mine, Taylor, and I, we love drinking Cosmopolitan gins. And it's the Cosmopolitan gin that to me is the best cocktail out there. I'm a sucker for it. Truly, I love it. Try next time you're out there. If you still have Hendrick's Midsummer Solstice, use that because it's the best on the planet with the Cosmopolitan gin. But Hendrick's itself truly produces such a beautiful addition to it. So when I ever drink Cosmopolitans, I use Hendrick's instead of vodka. Still with the same other ingredients, cranberry, a little bit of an orange liqueur, some fresh lime, and a bit of simple syrup, and just with some Hendrick's. And truly, it is stunning. And whenever I make it for people, they're like, wow, what is this? And I'm like, Cosmopolitan gin. So I would really, really encourage people to try breaking out of the comfort zone because that's where life happens, outside your comfort zone.
Man, ain't that the truth?
I really think it's people not trying to the vodka. They definitely try this gin. Changing whole things, I feel so fresh. I really like the cucumber inside. It makes so different. And I try in a black pepper. Oh my goodness, that is a totally different word. And I wanted to ask you a question because my country, we love not drinking drug. We love the drinking and then having the great snack. We just really enjoy it. Do you guys sell in my country?
Yeah, absolutely.
Ooh, okay.
Of course, yeah. I love that. And did you say you said you enjoyed drinking and having a snack at the same point?
Yes, I wanted to ask you if Japanese people, we not really just drink. We have something to eat with it. And the only thing is the gin has a really strong, not so really great flavor. So what is the best things to eat?
I love it. And I truly believe that all roads lead to gin. So when it comes to food pairing, I think gin is probably one of the best spirits to pair with food because, again, it's so versatile. So let's take a meal, as it were, and go through just kind of what I would drink with every course. I love to start a meal with a little bit of bubbles. That's like my way to start everything. Okay, we're celebrating every day, so we need to do that. So I'm going to pop open a bottle of champagne. And I'm going to make myself a Hendrick's French 75. A Hendrick's French 75 is one of the most simple but simply delicious cocktails on the entire planet. All it is going to be Hendrick's, lemon juice, freshly squeezed, of course, a little bit of simple syrup topped with champagne. So I always like to mix that up in a shaker. I shake it real quick with ice so it gets cold, pour it into a champagne flute, and top it with some champagne. Then I throw a slice of cucumber in the glass itself, and I just enjoy that. I might enjoy a couple before dinner, to be honest, because truly it's phenomenal. It gets your digestive system working a little bit. It's quite fun. It's delicious. I love it. You can always start with something like a bit of an aperitif as well if you wanted to go on sort of a weird wrong Negroni kind of twist and have like maybe some gin, vermouth, Campari, top it with some Prosecco or something like that. But I love the concept of just starting with a bit of bubbles mixed with gin at the beginning. Next, as I go through, one of my favorite things to always enjoy, having kind of been in the hospitality industry, is I always see people enjoy oysters, right? I think seafood is just such a beautiful, there's again, beautiful versatility when it comes to the natural product itself, but also what you can do with it. So I think martinis and oysters are truly such a beautiful pairing, because you have the salinity from the oysters and the kind of that beautiful brininess of them mixed with whatever sort of martini you're mixing. And it can be such a beautiful flavor combination. And you can even pair martinis specifically, whatever recipe you want to make, with specific oysters themselves. And that's when you go into some of the finest establishments, and they'll be able to kind of help you through that. And it's just a beautiful, beautiful pairing. And again, I'm going to go back to my French 75 with Cacio Pepe, because that's a personal vice of mine, to be honest. And I love Cacio Pepe. My girlfriend can attest, if it's on the menu, I will get it for a starter, a main, and a dessert as well. And it's a very simple pasta dish. But what I love about pasta, and again, go back to that citrus and bubble component, is I love to cut the kind of that beautiful, rich, starchy fattiness of the cheese and everything with some of those bubbles as well. So I love me some champagne, whether it's a death in the afternoon with just a hint of absinthe, a little bit of Hendrick's, and of course some champagne. It's a bit of a riff. Traditional is just absinthe and champagne, but I love the unique twist that the flavors of Hendrick's and gin brings to that. You can really start to see the wonderful world that you can create in gin pairing. And then of course, for finishing off desserts, this is where the real fun can happen. I've made things from white chocolate hot gin drinks with Hendrick's all the way through to things like a Hendrick's espresso martini. So I truly love things like that. But you know, we're drinking gin and tonics right now. So let me give you a small little one that you could maybe try at home. You guys have like an espresso pod or something, like one of those espresso machines?
Yes, we do.
Try pulling off a shot of espresso one time, okay? Let it cool down. Let's maybe do it at like the beginning of a meal or something, or even just if you want to do it earlier in the day at some point so you can enjoy the afternoon a little more. Make a Hendrick's and tonic, just using standard Indian tonic water, right? So the Fever Tree with the yellow label or something.
Right.
Make a Hendrick's and tonic, same ratio as we did. Add a tiny little bit of simple syrup to that. Again, simple syrup is so easy to make at home. It's just equal parts sugar and hot water. Add just a little bit of simple syrup to that. I'm talking like maybe a spoonful of simple syrup. And then top it with that chilled espresso. Life-changing.
Oh,
that
really?
Sounds good, man.
I mean, I just want to tell every girls in watching this show right now, quit drinking vodka. I mean, seriously, quit. Because I was big time in a vodka girl because that's the only way in it go. But, you know, there is not much taste so much. But then the gin has so much flavor. Smell it, taste it, and just totally you feel happy.
It's an explosion of flavor. That's the best way I can describe it. Because I've tried so many vodka drinks. I haven't had gin in a very long time. And I want to thank you, my friend.
No, I think it's so many different gin. But this gin, you can enjoy just the smell. And
now, I'll give you one more little interesting thing, because I totally understand where people's hesitation behind gin comes from, right? Like it comes from the past experiences that people have had and all that stuff. But the truth is, gin isn't for everyone. If you look on the back of your bottle right now, we actually say it's not for everyone on the back of the
They said that? Okay.
And the truth is, it requires people to step outside their comfort zone.
Amen.
But I am truly a believer that if you do what you've always done, you get what you've always got.
Right.
So if you want to continue to push the boundaries of what you think you'll enjoy, then you've got to try something new. And that's where Hendrick's can help, because it is the perfect gin to be able to introduce you to the wonderful possibilities of the world of gin and its botanical beauty.
That is so eloquently stated, my friend. So one quick question. I'm sure the listeners are probably asking. There's a lot of different type of champagnes out there. Some of them are very dry. Some of them are very sweet, like the Asti Spumantes. And then you have the Brut, which is another one. Which one would you recommend for a proper pairing with your product?
So for French 75, I love to go for proper champagne, right? I love sparkling wine. I love Proseccos. I love all the different things out there. I love Cava. I'm a huge Cava drinker. Love it, right? I went down to Spain, toured the Cava region. Love it. But for me personally, when it comes to French 75s, I really like to go for that Brut Nature style of like champagne I don't like something too sweet necessarily,
Right.
so it can have a little dosage of it for sure, right? The dosage just being a little bit of that sugar, but it really, don't break the bank on it. That's one of my big things. Of course, drinking a $200 bottle of champagne is amazing, and I love to drink that with Hendrick's French 75 every now and then. But the truth is, my house champagnes rarely top, that sort of $60-$70 mark. And I love that, but I always want to support the little guy. That's like kind of a weird thing of mine. I love it. I'm always looking for local produce. I'm looking for local bars. I'm looking for local florists. I always want to support the people that really, they work hard at the things. So I would always recommend just to kind of look into, ask the people in your local stores, the liquor stores. They're really knowledgeable about this kind of stuff. Have a look into any growers' champagnes. That's what they're called, from like the more smaller vineyards. So be like, hey, do you guys have any grower champagne? And sometimes grower champagne can kind of be a little more expensive, but also it has a tendency sometimes to actually be a little cheaper because the brand name often is what you're paying for. Right. And so you can find something that might be from the vineyard right across the street that actually is equally stunning, if not more so, because it's on a smaller production scale and it has more of this story and it's almost like a liveliness to it in a way. So I would say there's a whole vast array out there, but just have fun and play around with it. If you do want to go ahead and mix with like Prosecco's and things like that, just be aware that as you increase the sweetness of the sparkling, whatever you're putting in the drink, you may need to balance that out on the back end. So, if you're having something with a little bit of sugar in the drink already and you use something like a really sweet, Prosecco or Cava, something that's really nice and biscuity and beautiful, you might need to kind of balance it out. But, there's such a beautiful array of cocktails out there. One of my favorites is a Spagliato, is a great cocktail that just involves, I always use with like a little bit of a bitter liqueur, kind of like a Campari or an Aperol, something like that, with sweet vermouth. And I will throw a little bit of gin in there and I top it off with some Prosecco. And that's a beautiful expression for me because you have that delicious biscuitiness of a Prosecco, but then you're topping it with the bitter aspects of the other ingredients and the sweetness, and it all comes together in one that I think is just stunning. So have a play around, but as it goes for the champagne, don't break the bank, but have some fun.
I wish that you didn't live so far away and I'd be coming to your place right now so you could make us a whole bunch more of these.
Oh, yes.
And so if I'm a listener listening to the show and I have the luxury of traveling to Scotland, do they do tours there at the facility? Can you actually go do a tour there and see the stills and do all that kind of fun stuff?
I think as with everywhere right now, with the world being what it is, the answer is, of course, at the minute, no. In the future, the reason, obviously we created this beautiful thing. We would hate not to share it with the world. So we're doing virtual things every now and then, like online on YouTube, and hosting kind of virtual tours of it and things like that. So I have no doubt that in the future, I hope that people will be able to see it.
Sounds great.
But
Can't wait.
I wish I could put something concretely down online here. But all I'll say is the future holds beautiful prospects, and I can't wait to see what they are.
And so if you haven't gone to their website, guys, by the way, I was on the website. They have these amazing videos that you can play that will literally, they show the distillery. I'm going to call it distillery. Forgive me if I'm using the wrong terminology. But they will show that.
The Gin Palace, my friend.
The Gin Palace. I love it. And they have these videos that you can watch that are just so freaking cool. And the videos are amazing. And it shows the Gin Palace. And you can...
Beautiful.
I can't describe it. Go to the website. But real quick, Matthias, if they wanted to connect with you specifically, how do they do that again? Give the information out for our listeners.
Absolutely. So you can follow me on Instagram at The Bar Poet. You can follow me on YouTube. It's just, my name, Matthias Horstman, but I'll make sure that Rob gets that link to put down here in the description below this video. So click on that right now. Yes. And make sure you give both, you give Rob and Chica a follow here and subscribe. Hit that subscribe button and a little bell to make sure you get those notifications. And of course, do that for me as well. So
that's what you need to do. Those are your marching orders, folks. Make sure you follow, like, and subscribe to both of our channels. Our channel, my good friend Matthias's channel as well. And I'm going to thank you, man. I know that you have a lot going on in your life, and you carved out a little window of time to be here with us on D for D. I cannot thank you enough. And I really appreciate it.
I love going to drink gin from now because it's so good. It's so good. And I'm just so glad, because I was thinking about, should I change the wine? lover or change to the vodka because I'm a vodka lover for the years.
That's true.
But you know what? I love gin. I think it's a great.
After drinking a lot of vodka drinks, which I've had my share in my lifetime, I think of it now, they're very quite boring when you compare it to the flavor profile that this will provide for you. It is phenomenal. And I'm not saying that
change, tastes change. And I think people are slowly but surely, I can see it in the numbers. People slowly and surely in America are loving the flavor of gin, and they're loving the vast array of flavor that it can bring to their palates. So I'm excited about where the future's going.
Yes.
So come on, Texas, give me some Lunar, man. I don't want to wait too long. Matthias, thank you so much.
I think it might have arrived today, so you're good. It's coming. It's coming. It's any day now. Any day. Joys of working with all the beautiful legislations and snowstorms and things going on. But you guys will be in for a world treat this year. So very excited about that.
Well, my friend,
Texas people, they just don't know.
They just don't know what you don't know.
That's it.
But that's why we're here. We're here to inform, educate, so they can enjoy.
Oh my God, this is great when you have people coming over and haven't they tried this and just try this and they're gonna be wow.
You want to have a most amazing cocktail party at your house. You break this stuff out, mix a drink like this, and they're gonna blow their minds because they're so used to the normal, mundane, boring drinks. A party in your mouth. That's my description officially. Write it down. Take your notes.
Okay.
Okay. Hey, Matthias, thank you so much for being here, my friend. I know you have many other things to do. Make sure you give a shout out to Casey. Tell her we said hello, and we'll catch you on the next episode.
I can talk to a lot of Japanese friends. I have some people, they have bar, actually.
Yeah, we have bar owners in Japan that we could certainly, who knows, maybe we can help you guys expand your territory.
Yeah.
I love it.
Okay.
Well, it's a pleasure, guys. Thank you for having me on, and I can't wait to be able to share a cocktail in person with you guys. But until then, I'll say that distance cannot dampen any of the love that I have for you.
Ain't that true?
Cheers.
Cheers, my friend. You take care. God bless each and every one of you. Make sure you tune in for the next episode. Make sure you like and subscribe. And we'll see you guys on the next one. God bless. Take care. We'll see you next time.